So, you guys have clicked on this video because you want to know what it's like to own a Soarer and or if you should get one. So, I'm going to go over a couple of things that I've personally had to experience with mine and done and changed. And yeah, I'll see if this helps you guys make your decision if you want to get one or not, but we'll see how it goes. So for those of you who don't know or haven't seen the channel before, I own a 1991 Toyota Soarer, which is the 1UZ, not the 1JZ, so the V8 version. Come over here and I'll open up the bonnet so you guys can see. Where's the lever? There we go. All right, so I have changed quite a fair few things on this car. Most of the things I probably didn't need to change because I was just kind of like changing parts and hoping that I would fix problems that I had. But yeah, let me go over those. All right, now I got my light. You guys can see a bit better. So the first issue I ever had with the car was I had the old airbag suspension fail on me. I've got a couple of videos up of where I converted the car to coilovers. You can just see them in there over the tire. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think the seals in them failed. Well, I know the front left one, this one here, the seal completely failed in it, so the car was just completely dropped and it was undrivable. So I had to do something about that, and I ended up just getting some cheap eBay suspension and throwing it in the car. So that fixed that. Another issue I had, which was the biggest issue with these cars, is my ECU. The capacitors in it started either leaking or failing, and the car wouldn't run at all. So what happens with that is the car will like barely hold idle, and if you give it any gas at all, it just kind of like splutters and then it won't go anywhere at all. If you try and put it in gear and then even move like a meter or so, then it'll just die. And yeah, that also makes it undrivable. So there's two things already that you kind of got to be wary of when buying an old Soarer. Other things that I've replaced are these ignition coils here. So there's that one there, which is fairly easy to replace. And then this one here is kind of a dick to get to and replace down there. And I did that before I did the ECU because I was like, maybe the engine's just misfiring or I've got bad coils. So ended up doing that. I also replaced the spark plugs, which I have a video of up on the channel. So it's got 8 brand new spark plugs because yeah, I thought that would also fix it. Because I was just kind of trying to do the cheaper options before going to ECU. Because the ECU cost me close to $400, and that's not for like a new one, that's for one that has been repaired. So I gave the guy mine that was in the car and got one that was repaired. Yeah. I have some more boxes up here. What else? Yes, fuel pump as well. I also did. I went with Goss branded things, so they're the part numbers for the stuff I used. I've changed the steering wheel, but that was just a preference thing. And then I painted the original one black, but I wanted to put it back in the car. What else? What else have I had issues with? Oh yeah, as well, I'll quickly show you guys. Fuel cap. So, I don't know, it's probably a very specific issue with my car, but also because it was old, the fuel filler neck, like the cap of it, and let me take the cap off where you fill it, so you guys can see better. So, this ring here around it is actually separate from the pipe itself. And the rubber or like the sealant for this was just deteriorated. I'm assuming due to age as well. So I had an issue where I would be driving the car, and if you give it a decent bit of throttle, it would like sort of bog down, and then just like the revs would spike like I don't know, probably between 2K to 3.5, and it would just like lurch as if like it wasn't catching a gear or something. But the issue ended up being that this wasn't sealed properly, and it would sort of like move in and out, releasing the fuel pressure. So the car was basically, I think what was happening was it was like getting starved of fuel for like, I don't know, fucking half a second or so, in like really sort of fast intervals. And you could see it because I had all streak lines of fuel down the side of the car here, where it was happening. So I had to re-silicon this up with all black silicon and make sure that it was stuck in there good and properly sealed, so that I wasn't getting that issue of losing fuel pressure and it wasn't leaking fuel down the side of the car. But yeah. The other thing, when I bought the car, the paint was like, it was disgusting. It was screwed. It was originally blue, and the clear coat on it was just gone entirely. So I've just done a rattle can job for like $70 just to make it black. And that, I don't know, like it looks a lot better than it did, but it still looks like shit because obviously it's a rattle can paint job. But you know, that's just how it goes. I think the battery as well, that's the original battery when I bought the car. It died on me within the first month, I think. So then I went into Super Cheap, and the only battery they recommended was this fucking $380 heavy duty battery. So I ended up going with that, but that'll probably, it won't die for a long ass time, and it'll hold charge, so that's fine. What else have I had to deal with? I've also had to deal with the previous owner's dodgy wiring for the fuel pump and the amp wiring in the back. They were spliced together, so I had to cut them and resolder a power wire straight to the battery for the fuel pump. Because what happened was, when I had the radio going in the car originally, because it was the fuel pump with 2 amps wired together, it would blow fuses, and obviously if you blow the fuse for the amps and the fuel pump's connected, then you're not going to have power, and therefore you're not going to have fuel, and you're going to be broken down on the side of the road. Unless you have a very specific type of fuse, which I had to use, which is like this 100 amp one here, which connects on both ends, which I've just cable tied there so it stays shut to make sure, extra safety reasons. Yeah, and I haven't even owned this car for a year, so there's been a lot that I've had to fix. I put new wheels on it just because I like the look of these and they were cheap, but also because 2 of those tires have like a leak, and I'd have to pump them up every week because they'd probably lose about 13 PSI or so over the course of a week. So I was like, nah, fuck it. I'm just buying new wheels with like tires that aren't gonna leak down on me. But yeah, so I don't know. I'll take it for a drive and I'll show you the part that you can enjoy about the car at least, and then there's also some stuff going on with the gearbox at the moment. I don't know if it just needs a service or if it's solenoids, but I'll show you what I mean by that anyway, if it does it while I'm driving. So yeah. The only incentive that I would have to buy a car like this anymore is probably because of this. Just that sound. But then again, my transmission is old, so it shifts into way too high a gear than it's supposed to. So that's always annoying. Like I'll be driving along and just like then it'll shift down into second and then do a pull. And then instead of going into third, even with overdrive off, it'll immediately jump into fourth. And it's either a solenoid or the transmission needs a service. But, you know, I haven't got around to it yet. So that's just another little problem with these cars in this age. It's just little annoying things. Otherwise, it's great. But, is it worth the money? I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, is it a feel-good car to drive? Of course it is. of course it's a feel-good car. Even though mine is kind of a piece of shit, everybody still stops and looks at it and sees, what are you doing, cat? Yeah, everyone still looks at it, and it still gives you that feeling like you're driving something that's just unique, better than anything else that everybody sees every day, you know? And just the sound as well of the V8 or the 1J if you've got a 1J one. They sound incredible, and everybody loves them, even though they might not love to own them. It's a love-hate relationship, but that's kind of what you go through with these. There's been quite a few times where I have thought about selling it as well, because of, like, before I got the ECU fixed, and it just had issues where I couldn't drive it for like 2 months at a time, and it was just sitting in the garage, and it felt sad to own it because I didn't get to enjoy it and drive it. But now that I can enjoy it, even though it does have those small issues, like where the gearbox doesn't shift into the correct gear that I'd like it to, I still don't think I'd sell it for, you know, just an everyday, normal, boring car. Because, well, for one, there's nothing interesting around my town for sale. Well, I don't want to go down this dead end. There's nothing interesting around my town for sale, except just Commodores and stuff like that. And I really don't want one of them. And I don't think I want to give it up. I've put a lot of effort into this car, getting it on, like, back on the road and living where it is. So to me, it's worth keeping. But overall, I reckon if someone came to me and asked me, should I buy a Soarer, there's two things that I would ask them. I would ask, do you have a decent supply of money that you are willing to throw at the thing over the first 3 months of owning it? And do you have enough patience, and can you be bothered doing some of, like, most of the work yourself? And if they answer no to either one of those, I would say don't buy a Soarer. You've got to really love these cars to want to get one and hold on to it. And I think most of the reason why I'm hanging on to mine is because I put so much effort into it. Because if I could trade it for one of my Mark IV Supras that I owned earlier in my life, I would probably trade it in a heartbeat, because I love those cars. So if you've got the budget and you can get something a bit better, then definitely go ahead and do that. But for, like, because in Australia these are still relatively cheap. You can pick a Soarer up for about $6 grand with, like, running and registration and drive it on the road. So for an entry-level JDM car, although it does require a lot of money and maintenance, then I'd say yes. But overall, I'd say probably don't buy one. So in summary, overall, if you are kind of not ready for a commitment to a car, such as this thing is required, like I've got boxes of parts up there that I've installed in this thing, and, you know, there's the old suspension on the ground and everything, and it's been a wild ride for sure, I'll tell you that. A little bit expensive as well. But I don't know, I love it. But yeah. Anyway, I hope if you were thinking about buying a Soarer, this is kind of, you know, giving you some insight as what it's like to own one and stuff. But yeah. Right, anyway, let me know if you buy one in the comments. Also, I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone who's subscribed to the channel so far. We're almost at 100 subs already, and that's kind of wild to me that 100 of you actually enjoy me working on that piece of shit and struggling and doing a lot of stuff like that. So I just wanted to say thank you guys, and yeah, hopefully I can have some more interesting content soon, but I don't really know what else I can do to the Soarer in the meantime, and I'm a little broke. So yeah, anyway, thanks guys, I appreciate it, and I hope you all have the best day.